Great, thank you very much, and thank you all for participating today. Johanna, can everybody hear me okay, I presume?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear, and I hope everyone else too.
All right, so as Gabo had mentioned a little bit on virtual environments and virtual reality in a whole bunch of different uses, he mentioned one also in training. And so the focus of our presentation will be the use of virtual environments of virtual reality in training. And I really love the quote at the bottom: one becomes a beginner after 1,000 days of training and an expert after 10,000 days of practice. So virtual environments can give us more access to practice more and practice better. And so we've defined a virtual environment as any computer-generated visual environment that enables the user to stimulate experiences in at least 3 dimensionals. It's instructional, informative, and it can be simulation game-based learning. And these are snapshots from our project that you will see later. All right, on to the next one, Theo. Thank you very much. Next. So just in terms of training needs, in the Department of Safeguards at the IAEA, where we help to safeguard the nuclear material at facilities around the world, for our safeguards, we apply it in over 180 states. We apply safeguards. We have over 250 safeguards inspectors that work for us, and we run over 100 training courses a year. But those training courses require that you can practice in a facility. However, of course, due to security concerns, access to facilities, and particularly now access to facilities, we cannot always be in those facilities to practice the techniques and skills that we need to carry out our safeguards inspections. Okay, next. So that impetus really led us to design a virtual environment that our staff could use to practice. And we went through a whole stage of design and development. And we worked with member state support partners to help us design and provide the resources for the program. And we learned a lot about user needs and multiple learning styles that our staff have. And of course, with our staff, we have a range of ages from 25 up to 65. And of course, when you start to engage in a virtual environment, you have to figure out how all of those people learn and how they will engage with that virtual environment, because you want it to be easy. So the development of all of this was quite iterative and collaborative with the user group. And I think that's really an important thing to remember, is to be in touch with who is going to use this tool and what is in it for them. How are they going to engage with this? And then what are the technical specifications that go along with that to enable the development of a functioning product? And then we did a lot of evaluation and user group testing and support. We also used our user group to help us with the design of what this facility looks like. Given security concerns, we cannot just model a facility. We don't own a facility to model. So this was all done through open source information and knowledge of inspectors who have been to different facilities, so that we could pull that together to actually model a generic facility. Okay, next. And so the facility we modeled was a pressurized heavy water reactor. And this is one of the challenging facilities for the implementation of safeguards. And we figured that this was an important one to start with. Okay, next. Okay, and so just to give you a snapshot of it, this is what the inside looks like. And I think we modeled through the floor plan, as well as then into the 3D. And the floor plan was important because it allowed our users to jump to where they wanted to go, as opposed to walking through the facility. As a part of our user tests, we realized not everybody can walk through a facility using the mouse or the, in my time, joystick or WASD, and how you navigate through these facilities. Okay, next, Theo. And I think you can go, let's show the video. I think we'll show the video to give you a snapshot.
The 2 fueling machines move to the reactor face on opposite sides and clamp to both ends of a pressure channel. After removal of the closure plugs and shield plugs from both ends of the channel, fresh fuel bundles are pushed into one end of the channel. An equal number of spent fuel bundles are received by the opposite fueling machine.
So one of the important parts in designing this was to help the users visualize where the nuclear material could be in this facility. And so we did that through 3 or 4 different elements within this virtual model. We had the fuel fly-through so that you could just do a tour of the model. And then we had a guided tour to show you that was done with a gentleman, an inspector, walking through the virtual facility and could show and demonstrate certain aspects throughout the facility. And then we had simple self-guided tours that you could take, that the user could take on their own to see and learn more. And that's what you see on the screen now, is a way to self-learning so that they could learn more about specific aspects of that facility. And then we also had a gaming option to this. And the gaming option was to actually perform a safeguards verification activity through the facility as a game. And that was actually an interesting part. We thought it would be used much more than it actually is. And I think when you think of how is your user group going to do this and what are they going to practice, our user group is inspectors, but perhaps the gaming part was not necessarily what they would be most interested in. Okay, next. So as I started to allude to already, what are the design considerations? And what are the requirements within your organization? And for us within our organization, that's standard technology. And so the design of this game had to fit on our computers, whereas gaming companies often have far more advanced computers to run it. It's got to run on UN or IAEA provided standard laptops. It's got to be user friendly and people need to want to jump into it. My design criteria was a lot. I don't need a 500-page manual to how to use a virtual simulation. It should be so intuitive that you can get on and start using it without having to read anything. We had very many safeguard specific considerations. So in your organization, what are the specific considerations that you have in designing this? For us, it was also security related considerations in terms of what information can we put in this system. Future oriented. So we tried to build in compatibility, even taking into account how our standard laptops may change, how we may have to update our laptops, and what can we do to ensure that this product can run and continue to run on our laptops and which platforms we're using. And then consistency across projects. So we had a number of different virtual projects ongoing. We wanted to make sure that there was a consistent look and feel across all of them because the provider wasn't always the same company. And then we had multi-mode. So we looked at to try to address how different people learn and interact with such systems. Can they do it standalone? Do they need to be guided through it? Or is there an expert mode where they really know exactly what they're doing and they can get the most out of it? So trying to design for the different types of users was an important part of it. And then again, the learner profile and who those people are. Okay, next. And I won't read through all of this, but the user feedback, and I think in any kind of development, it's really important to test with your user group and the interface as ready as it's going to be. Recently, I was on a project and they said, oh, well, we'll test with the user phase 1 interface, but it wasn't the final one. It has to be really what is it going to look like for those users to start testing, and then integrate their comments into that product. And that was actually built us a good relationship with the users because they saw the changes that they actually put in and made. Okay, next. And I think that's it. Next steps. Yeah, so I think for us in the Department of Safeguards, it really offers the chance to generate greater access to learning activities and training activities. And this is both for our safeguards inspectors as well as our other staff that don't often get the chance to go to facilities, but they have to support the safeguards inspectors. now that we have virtual reality, they can use this and they can then better support the inspectors. Virtual environments also help in conveying the information, even as Gabo mentioned, you know, it's conveying information to people who can't go to these facilities. Much different context than Gabo's, but you know, if you are trying to convey your experience of going to a facility, if you have a virtual model to show and share that with your colleagues and your management, that helps to convey what has been done there. And then it's also to overall improve the visualization of the tools and what we can use. Ultimately, I'd like to accelerate learning and create greater access to that learning. And especially nowadays in the situation where we're all at home, we can now work a little bit more with virtual models, and maybe we can learn just that much more. So thank you. I'll pass it over to Theo for his nuclear security presentation.
So I guess I can start immediately. So I'm happy that Susan covered some of the things that I was going to talk about, because you know some of the things are in common in our organization. So for security reasons, because you cannot just have people divulging information about actual facilities in training, our team started and concluded the creation of a hypothetical facility. They called it Shapash. The officer in charge of this, Mr. Larson, who wanted to develop all these things for his training, used some mythological names in this publication. So while the data book, what you see on the left, was the first thing to be created, it was pretty obvious that when you try to describe a nuclear facility to people, it's very difficult for them to get the essence of it by just reading some text. So a 3D model, which is navigable, was developed for this purpose. If I can, I hope you can see my screen. This is the model that is available at the moment. And the player, you can navigate or jump to different parts. Maybe you can even go to the reactor hall and see how a reactor looks like. The main idea was, of course, training, because we have 6 to 8 relevant courses per year, relevant to material security and nuclear facility security. So in order to be able to help our participants participate to the training more effectively, we wanted them to have an intuitive understanding of the hypothetical facility. And in order to be able to apply the more technical and abstract subjects like system effectiveness analysis, which is one of the major parts of the training security for people working in such facilities. So for this purpose, we embarked on creating videos and VR, 3D and VR games in order to be able to do that. The videos were designed to visualize the facility and connect the information to make it easier for people to understand. And the VR games focused on the experiential immersive learning. So what you see here is snapshots from our animation videos. They were created with our input and the help of a professional company. So the video was, in fact, introducing the people to how the facility works, providing an overview, helping people understand how material moves within the facility in order to prepare them for the course. Except for those videos, we also went on to create material which was focused on virtual reality experiences. So our purpose was to introduce people to the basic principles of nuclear material security and handling in the oxide storage bunker. So we used Unity game engine, the proprietary one, and we created an experience which is to be used with the Oculus headset, which is kind of popular lately, but it's also portable. So as you can see there, we also had some virtual hands in there, which in fact, those controllers can follow the movement over the player's hands. That's why you see those virtual hands there. If I have time, I'll show you a small video of how the virtual space looks like. So the challenge is here, and when you develop material, is how to really bring the training elements you want in there. So it has been a lot of work talking with our professional developers in order to be able to introduce all those teaching elements in our material. And of course, this is still work in progress, and there is an upcoming part which goes into the more abstract sections of our training. What you see here is kind of a production of what we're preparing. We would like to incorporate the system effectiveness in the security system, and we have a game which uses budget and some grading of the system effectiveness to help the players understand and go through all the decisions they need to in order to be able to grasp the complex subject of system effectiveness. And having this game in class, you could have the instructor, and that's our plan, in order to be able to have all the discussions needed to explore all those themes that are embedded in the conversation of security and facilities. This hybrid approach is what we prefer because it allows you to go deeper and allows the instructor to really evaluate how effective the training is right there in the classroom. As Susan mentioned, for all those tools, you need a lot of testing. You need to have users and try to iron out the user experience if possible. That's one of the complex things, one of the challenges, because the user experience is something subjective. So you cannot expect all people finding it user-friendly. We had the chance to showcase our VR experience in a conference in February. So we had more than 200 people testing it actually and giving us positive feedback for this. We used all this feedback, gave it to the developers in order to be able to improve this experience. So if now there is a little time, I would like to be able to show how this video looks like.
Exercise and remove the smaller container that you find inside.
So these few snapshots were coming from our VR game. It's of course not all of it, just a few seconds. And I'm happy to answer any questions when the time comes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.